What's up, guys? So before we get into my transfer targets this week, let's take a quick look at how Gaming33 Plus went. Fernandes and Martial both got 2 assists and a goal, which I was happy to see, especially because Martial was my captain. Pulisic, Van Dijk, and Alexander-Arnold also got returns as my team scored 72 points, which takes me to 9,154th overall ahead of the Spurs game. Hopefully I can end the week inside the top 10k for the first time this season. My likely transfer this week is Aubameyang to Kane. I wish Kane's game wasn't on Monday so I wouldn't have to wait to do this move. Assuming he does okay and doesn't get a red card or an injury, I'd love to bring him in for his game against Bournemouth. I think the main potential issue with this transfer is that Spurs aren't always trustworthy. I don't feel as if I can depend on them to always play as well as they can. After the Bournemouth game, they play Arsenal, who have been defending well of recently, but I still wouldn't consider that a terrible matchup. Their fixtures are pretty average for the remainder of the season after the Bournemouth game. But for this transfer, I've got to wait and watch the Spurs game for more info. My gut tells me that Kane hasn't had a penalty in a bit and will get one soon. My overall opinion of Kane as an FPL asset isn't great. He's overpriced and ends up playing too deep a lot of times, but I think that's stopped recently. He's not the same goal scorer that he was a couple of years ago, but he has returned in the last 2. Him playing Bournemouth combined with the lack of striker options is why he's a likely transfer. Yes, I'll be putting a lot of money into him, but if I don't really find another place to spend this money, then it doesn't really matter as much to me. Another option is to get Phil Foden in for Douglas Luiz. Foden was benched against Southampton, so I expect him to start against Newcastle. Man City not scoring at all against Southampton does put me off a little, but Foden has still shown the ability to have a big game week. Assuming that De Bruyne starts as well, Man City should have more creativity and quality in their next starting lineup. I'll probably end up with Foden in my team at some point, as Man City have some good fixtures coming up. I'm always worried about Pep rotation, of course, but at 5.0 million, I'm not sacrificing a lot for him, so I can always bench him with no real consequences if I don't think he'll play. Let's say he does start this week. I can then play it safe and bench him the week after when they play Brighton. If he's benched that week, it sets up perfectly for him to start against Bournemouth, who of course are a good team to target, and Man City will likely destroy them. If I don't get Foden this week, I expect to bring him in for that Bournemouth matchup. He also has great fixtures after that game. Another option is to take a hit to bring in Mason Greenwood. There's no denying that Greenwood is a terrific option, but is it worth rearranging my team for him? Maybe. I'd have to get rid of Wan-Bissaka to bring him in. Right now, I'm planning on keeping Wan-Bissaka and just hoping it works out. Wan-Bissaka was close to having an assist against Bournemouth, and there's always a slight chance of rotation with Greenwood. I gotta say, England fans must be happy right now seeing the quality of their young stars like Greenwood and Foden. Moving on to other issues, what do us Calvert-Lewin owners do? Surely he's got a chance to score against Southampton. Well, I'm personally planning on benching him. I would consider selling him, but nobody I could get entices me. When we see Southampton at home, it looks like a great fixture, but they just kept a clean sheet against Man City, and Calvert-Lewin failed to return against Norwich earlier. This is being recorded before the game against Spurs, so maybe he shows something there. I'm also slightly worried that he'll be benched one of these games because of his form and the fixtures being close together. I suppose I'll bench Saiz for another week. I'm not benching my Liverpool defenders or Doherty for him. The players I've considered taking out for him are Wan-Bissaka and Jimenez. Wan-Bissaka has more attacking threat, and the defenses are about the same quality between Wolves and Manchester United. I'm not sure what to think of Jimenez. He hasn't exactly been getting a high quantity of chances. I'd fully understand if I see him on some benches this upcoming game week as well as some transfer outs. But I think I'll stick with him because it's a decent matchup, and if Wolves do finally move the ball quickly and score a lot of goals, he'll surely be involved. The issue is that Wolves are bad at scoring on teams who sit deep defensively. They just don't create enough chances in such situations. Basically, I'm open to the idea of playing someone instead of him, even if it does seem risky. My captaincy for this week will probably go to either Fernandes or Kane. I'll have to decide between looking at Fernandes as an every week captain or targeting Bournemouth. De Bruyne is also a good captaincy choice as he could start after being benched last game. I don't think Martial is a great captain option because he hasn't scored an away goal since the restart. I think that can change, but with such a pattern emerging and with Fernandes right there begging to be captained on the same team, I don't see a need to risk it. I like my overall team, but it could be improved. So Pope and McCarthy have a bad game week 35, both of them do, so maybe I bring in somebody cheap like Reina just for 1 week and hope he does well. Maybe somebody more expensive, I don't know yet. Maybe I just play out the bad game because I might have other fires to put out. Trent and Van Dijk are potential season keepers, but they do have tough matchups in game week 36 and 37 against Arsenal and Chelsea. Wan-Bissaka is a season keeper unless I go Greenwood. Man United might get caught on the counter sometimes, and De Gea isn't great, so they probably will lose some of their clean sheets in that way. But he's got great fixtures for the remainder of the season. Doherty needs to show why he costs so much and be more involved in the attack. De Bruyne, Martial, and Fernandes are must-owns for me. Pulisic is the GOAT, not really, but if you watch the games, you know he could be scoring a little more points. He's good value at his price and more nailed on than the Man City mids. Alba has to go, an expensive striker playing left wing who hasn't been getting the chances. Could he score this upcoming week? Sure, but I just think there's better people out there to get that are more explosive. And I'm not just going to sit around hoping for him to start looking better. I'm going to go to somebody that I think has a good chance of scoring points. I've mentioned Jimenez, but hey, he has good fixtures. He could be a transfer out soon, I guess. The bench isn't great besides Saiz, who will likely start another game for me by the end of the season. If you made it this far, like and subscribe and all that. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.